Welcome in, BIGTEN Backers. It is the morning after, and boy, do we got another big ass show for you, B. What you got,
What
man?
is up?
What you got?
Hey, man, just another great weekend of college football. Week 3 is in the books. But before we get started, we got to play that intro, bro.
We got to play that intro, man. We got to, got to show everybody what we're all about. Let's get at
Love you, man. I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world.
Who taught you how to fight? Who taught you how to be a warrior?
I hate playing against these guys. I hate playing them.
Like, you're making me uncomfortable. Like, I don't.
You better get me right now.
They're fighting for clicks, we're fighting for wins. Right? This game ain't going to be played in Hollywood.
We're in LA. It's us and USC.
We are at the top of the Big Ten Conference. I mean, we're at the top of any conference. I don't ever look at ourselves below anybody. We are
best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
Sure you get some of that NIL money that he's sharing with Dan Lanning, but sure you get...
There's some things going on that aren't right as well, so we'll talk about how to handle it.
Really, 2 or 3 beers or 4. I've probably done that 1,000 times in my life.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Love you, man.
Hey, we are back, man and Beeve. It was another beautiful weekend, man. We got to get to our Out West Seafest game of the week. We had to change it up a little bit. Usually it's our Midwest Corn Fest, but you know what? The Big Ten has expanded.
Coast to coast, baby. You got to add more for it.
Coast to coast, man. Coast to coast. But yeah, first game off the dock, man. The Cougs and Washington. The Apple Cup. Thirsty Cougars take down the Huskies 24-19, flaunting the quote-unquote Pac-12 trophy. What you got on this game, Beeve?
Man, Cougars, they stopped Washington on that 4th and goal running play from the 1 with 1 minute, 7 seconds remaining. Man, and guess what they did? Of course, an option to the short side of the field. An option to the short side of the field. Sometimes I wonder if these offensive coordinators are just trying to overthink themselves. They're like, no one does this. No one runs to the short side of the field and tries to run an option play. So we're going to do it because they're going to think we're going left. We're going to go right. Just hang to the basics, man. Do not run an option play to the short side of the field. You ran out of real estate. You probably would have scored if you went the other way. Don't be an idiot. Don't overthink yourself.
Apparently, Fish was an idiot because he overthought himself. But the Apple Cup, man, first time it took place as a non-conference game in 60 years, man. What a change. What a new world of college football. But Washington State on Saturday, behind 3 total touchdowns from quarterback John Mater and a late goal line stand against Washington to win this one 24-19. Washington, the Cougs will mount that Apple Cup trophy at home for the 3rd time since 2008, and boy, were they celebrating that one, Beef.
Yeah, Washington really, really put me, I'm just a little bit upset with them, man. After those first 2 games, seeing them ball out, I was like, man, they got to win this. They got to win this big. Maybe there'll be a surprise. Maybe Jed Fish will get this team going out of nowhere, man. The Huskies running back Coleman, who topped 100 yards in the first 2 games, was limited to 75 yards on the ground and 14 carries. And Will Rogers, he did well, throwing for 314 yards and a touchdown for those Huskies, baby. But Giles Jackson had 8 catches for 162 yards, a 31-yard touchdown in the first quarter. But, the Huskies had to settle for field goals, man. 3 trips inside the Washington State 25, and the field goals proved to be the difference. Man, you got to score touchdowns. You got to score touchdowns if you want to win.
Not only that, but the Huskies were completely undisciplined, man. 16 penalties. The most in school history for 135 yards, man.
Holy shit.
Critical kill drives, man.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's what sets you up for field goals if you're going to get, or drive enders, if you're going to get penalties like that. 16 penalties? Wow. 135 yards? Damn. But the Cougars, man, John Mateer, he is the real deal. 17 for 34, 245 yards, and 1 tutty. But that was just through the air, my friend. He had some work on the ground. Finished with 16 carries for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns there, too. My man.
And yeah, good win for the Cougs, man. They're talking about they're not going to return that trophy. They're going to keep that one because it belongs in the Pac-12, and they claimed it as a Pac-12 trophy. So are they going to play for that one again? They're talking about getting a new one.
They're going to need something. Hey, come on, Washington. Ball through, man. We need you. You're in the Big Ten now. You got to represent. I know you had your year last year. Damn, I wish that was this year. Man, if those Pac-12 teams would have been in the Big Ten teams last year, that would have been nice.
Yeah, it would have been
a nice little welcoming party.
Yeah, Washington, they got some growing to do, man. But we all seen that coming at the beginning of the season. New coach, new players. A little while. But let's get to our
completely new team.
Dump truck game, man. This one, I don't think anybody's seen being a big game, but man, oh man.
It turned out to be one.
Did Kentucky try to surprise some people, but Georgia survives an almost bluegrass miracle, but didn't quite get it done. The Dogs survived, winning it 13-12, man. Oof, tell me about this game, man.
Georgia running back Branson Robinson rushed for a 3-yard go-ahead touchdown, albeit the only touchdown in the game early in the fourth quarter, and Georgia overcame a lethargic performance, man. They had to rally and pass and then hold off Kentucky to win this game. Not what we all were thinking after Kentucky got blasted by South Carolina last week.
Yeah, they definitely look like dog shit, not the Dogs, man. I don't think no one's seen this one coming, man. It was ugly. The Bulldogs struggled to find any offense, man. The Dogs trailed 9-3 early in the third quarter against these Wildcats. Like no one see that one coming, man. But tell me about Etienne, man.
Good old Trevor Etienne, 12-yard run, 11-yard reception, an 8-yard scamper, and got the Bulldogs down to the Kentucky 29. That Florida transfer broke it right for 17 yards to the 11. Then his partner, running back Robinson, took it from there. 3 plays later, Georgia gets the lead, 13-9. Holy shit, man.
What was his total stats, man? And I'll get on Carson.
Etienne rushed 19 times for 79 yards.
Okay, so he had an okay game.
He went out a little bit. He got injured for, I think he went out right before half, but he ended up coming back and finishing the game.
But man, quarterback Carson Beck, man, for the Dogs, he did not have a Heisman moment. He's kind of been a favorite to win the Heisman, but he only went 15 of 24 for 160 yards, man. Kind of a snoozer of a game for him, man.
Everyone's due for a letdown game, even the big dogs of the conference and the big dogs of the nation, really. And this was their letdown game. So, hey, as long as they bounce back, they pulled off that close win. And sometimes that's what a team needs to just develop that discipline and develop that, like, go-get-you mentality. Like, I'm going to win no matter what, even when my ass is on the line. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to score.
They struggled on the road last year, man. They struggled on the road last year. They had a couple of games like this where Auburn almost had them. Looks like it's going to be a continuing thing. But, when they play Texas, when they play Alabama, it's going to be a different Dogs team, man. They always get up for their games.
Yeah, they get up for big games.
They do. Georgia's defense, though, they balled out in this game. They held Kentucky to no touchdown. Or was it a Kentucky again? Because this is 2 games in a row now where they failed to score a touchdown. Like, is it Georgia's D or Kentucky's offense?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both, but Kentucky's defense was awesome too. And my big takeaway from this was the holes that they opened up. That Kentucky offensive line was opening some big holes for that Kentucky running back, man. Out of the 284 yards given up, albeit not a lot, they had 170 yards on the ground. It looked like whenever they needed to play, they could run. And as I was watching on their last possession, they had a 2nd and 8, and I was like, run it. I was looking at my dad. We were watching the game together. I was like, just run the fucking ball, all right? There was like 5 minutes, I believe, left on the clock, something along those lines. Of course, they pass it. So now it's 3rd and 8, and that defensive line just got after the quarterback 2 times in a row, and they pass it again. Even on 3rd and 8, I was like, run it. Go for it on 4th down. Just run it here. Get some yards. Make it manageable. But, of course, no, they punt, and they played too conservative. They played at, just to be – I almost want to say they played to win the game instead, or played to not lose the game instead of played to win it, but they were behind by a point. I mean, they smelled blood in the water and decided, you know what, for some damn reason, I ain't gonna eat it. I'm gonna wait till later.
Yeah, that was that touchdown at the end, man. It seemed like it was just they finally exploded, man. They've been holding on to No Nut November for a while, and they just finally let loose.
Yeah, Georgia just did what they wanted to on that one possession. They were like, you know what, we're gonna play like Georgia right here. All right, time to go.
All right, let's trim the landscape a little bit more. Let's stay in the SEC. Another SEC team kind of got a little bit of a scare, man. Number 24 Boston College scared Missouri, man. But the Tigers pulled it out 27-21. The quarterback, Brady Cook, passed for a touchdown and ran for another TD, helping Missouri survive against number 24 Boston College, man.
Yeah, I was at a Pee Wee football game while watching this on my phone, so it was kind of interesting. I was like looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down, like which play do I watch right now? It was an interesting game, and in the beginning, Missouri was taking it to them. Nate Noel rushed for 121 yards, and the Tigers had to depend on the leg of Blake Craig, who nailed 4 field goals. Man, that was a field goal kicker day.
He was pretty much Missouri's offense at one point.
Maybe
man.
2 or 3 or 4.
And then Castellanos, man, he passed for 249 yards and 3 touchdowns for Boston College, but also threw up those 2 interceptions, man, which were huge. The Eagles finished, though, but they could not run the ball in this game. 49 yards on 26 carries. So purely out of quarterback Castellanos' hands, man, because that running game was shut down.
Garbage. Castellanos and Boston College, they got off to that fast start, man. Put together a 14-play drive, 75 yards in the opening possession of the game to go ahead 7-0. And they were up, 14-3, and then all of a sudden, then the Tigers rallied in the second quarter, and Craig made a 56-yard final play in the first half to give the Tigers that 17-14 edge right at break.
Yeah, and from there, man, the Tigers would grab 10 unanswered until BC finally scored again with 3:45 left in the game. From there, Tigers got the ball, ran the clock out, hit that victory formation, and boom, got the W.
Castellanos is the real deal, dude. I mean, you can watch him play. He made the plays. He kept the drive alive. He was constantly being pressured in the backfield. Didn't get sacked very often, but he was scrambling for his life on almost every throw. And the BC defense, that Boston College defense, they're legit, dude. They're going to win some games in that ACC.
Yeah, they look good. They
already have.
If they could have got the running game going, they could have won this game. But you got to give the Missouri's defense. They completely shut that down.
And I thought maybe, when we were doing the preview, that Boston College was overrated just because of that Florida State victory. And Florida State's obviously dog shit with 0-3, man. The mighty have fallen. You complain enough about the playoffs, someone's going to get you.
Yeah, you got to give it to Bill O'Brien, man. I don't think anybody expected him to be this good out the gates with BC, man.
Not at all. He's a damn good coach.
He's a damn good coach. But I thought it was going to take a little bit of time. But okay, Bill. Okay, Bill. Must have been that 2 weeks he spent with Ryan Day.
Heck yeah. He was prepared.
All right, we got another SEC, man. This matchup was a fun one to watch, man. But, yeah, LSU rallied back on the Cox to beat South Carolina 36-33. I mean,
beat the Cox, if you will. They beat the Cox.
They beat the Cox. I guess they enjoyed beating them. This is a wild one, though, man. Nussmeier directed a final touchdown drive that ended with Josh Williams' two-yard score with 1:12 left, and the Tigers came back from a 17-0 deficit to beat the Cox, man.
Put the beat down on South Carolina. Yeah, the Cox. I just love saying the Cox. The Cox quarterback, Lenoris Sellers, ran for 2 touchdowns, including that 75-yard burst. That was the longest by a South Carolina quarterback in history, man. Arkansas transfer Raheem Sanders added a 66-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter to put the Cox, back on top after giving up the 17-point lead.
Yeah, I mean, Nussmeier wasn't always pretty, man. He had an interception and a fumble off a bad snap. Gamecocks blocked a punt, and the Tigers failed on an extra point with another poor snap. Man, LSU looked like they were kind of dead in the water, but South Carolina, I mean, they held LSU without points after a first and goal and 2 yards at the end zone. Like they did a lot to slow down that LSU offense, but it just wasn't enough, man.
Yeah. Oh, man. And Nussmeier said, "You want me to worry about the interception with 3 minutes, 45 seconds left? No. Let's flush it and go win this football game, man." He was ready. And that's what I kind of predicted prior to the game, that Nussmeier would be the difference. He would air it out. Did a little bit, but those interceptions, man, they took a toll and kept South Carolina in the game. And South Carolina played well, man.
They did. Yeah, the Tigers were trailing in the final 2 minutes when Williams took a handoff, threw a big hole on the left side into the end zone for that winning score, man. And then South Carolina had a final chance to tie things up, driving to the LSU 39 with 5 to play, and kicker Alex Herrera pushed his 49-yard goal attempt left. And then they started celebrating, baby.
I wish that was a 49-year-old kicker. That would have been awesome. But he was a local dude from the Columbia area, and I feel sorry for him, man, because that's all he wanted, probably growing up, was to be the Cox main man, So, I feel bad for him, but...
Yeah, they iced him, man.
South Carolina... Go ahead.
He kicked the first kick, and he kind of pushed it to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they iced him, then he kicked it again, and he overcorrected, and it was fucking close, though. It was right there.
Hey, South Carolina might upset some folks down there south of the Mason-Dixon, so it's a good
beamer
damn
ball,
team.
man. Little beamer ball.
But they had a plethora of penalties, man. And in my opinion, a lot of the Cox fans are going to be mad at me, maybe calling me a cock, but they were legit penalties, I think. I know you won't agree, but man, in the fourth, there's about 6 minutes and 20 seconds left. Nussmeier throws a pick six, and it was called back. I mean, it was maybe an 80-yard pick six, and they called an illegal block. And he laid out the quarterback, and then Nussmeier laid there like a little bitch, and they called the flag. To me, it was an illegal blindside block, maybe. But it was because it was a quarterback, man, and the play was already gone. It was past him at that point.
They've been calling those a lot lately, though. It's not like it's some new thing or some rare thing.
Yeah.
They call crackback blocks a lot, and it's just a shame, man. It had nothing to do with the play. You just wanted to hit the quarterback. You did it. Yeah. But it cost.
And that dude should have just stood there and done the pick play because he didn't need to do it. But still, it's just like, man, this is football. We got to play we got to be violent. It's a violent sport, and if you're changing stuff like that, it's like, come on, man. I know if it
that's
would have
old
been
school,
Ohio
man.
State.
That's old school. Because you know how it is back in the day, man.
Yeah.
If the quarterback threw the pick, that was the first dude you were trying to lay a block on. The
For sure.
quarterbacks used to lay on the ground because they knew it was coming.
Yeah. And if we change this, if that was, Georgia doing that, I'm not sure that they would have thrown the flag. But anyway.
They've been cracking down on those back blocks big time.
In total, South Carolina had 13 penalties for 123 yards. At one point, I believe they were second and 56 to go. Don't quote me on that. It was second and 50-something, but I believe it was 56.
Good night. All right, man.
And they got 25 yards of it in the next play.
Let's keep moving, man. One more game, and then we'll get into some Big Ten action. But this game was kind of a disappointing one, man. Got up early for me because I'm on the other side of the world. Got up early to watch this game. Had to find a TV to watch it at, and man, it was just didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to be. I had this game pegged as like one of the best games for the weekend, but
for sure,
this was a Noah Fafita versus Avery Johnson game, and man, Avery balled out, and he totally showed he was the better quarterback. Man, tell me about those quarterbacks.
The battle of the dual threat quarterbacks, and Avery didn't gather a ton of yards in the air, but 156, and he grabbed 2 touchdowns. And his work on the ground was something else, man. 17 carries, 110 yards, 6.5 for pop. And take this in mind when you're talking about quarterbacks and their rushing yards. If they get sacked, that goes against their rushing yards. So it can be a little deceiving. I mean, if you get sacked 7 times for 56 yards, you lose all that yardage, which is atrocious. I think that's stupid to me, but whatever.
They should change
anyway. That's a dumb rule. As far as stats is concerned, that doesn't show you how good you are as a rushing quarterback.
Yeah.
In some circumstances. Tell me about Noah Fafita.
Noah Fafita was off after the first drive. That first drive, it was electric, man. Him and his boy was just hooking up. And then after that, man, the wheels fell off. I don't know exactly what happened. He threw an interception in the end zone when they were on their second drive. And then from there, they never looked the same, man. I mean, this loss Arizona suffered ended a 9-game winning streak, the longest active streak in FBS, man. So
interesting there. Back-to-back weeks, the longest winning streak has gone down to Michigan, then Arizona.
That is weird. Another weird nugget about this game. This was an in-conference, non-conference game. So
you struggled with that. In-conference, non-conference. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, these schools agreed to play this game before Arizona moved over to the Big 12. They could not find another opponent to kind of fill that spot. So they said, we're just going to keep it as an out-of-conference game. So this doesn't actually hurt their in-conference record for the season, which is a weird nugget, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the first time that's happened yet this year, and I think it's atrocious and stupid, but whatever. I mean, find a way to make it happen. I'm sure you can get an FCS opponent somewhere that will play the game. Anyway.
The in-conference, non-conference game. It happened again.
The best in-conference, non-conference game you'll ever see. The breaking point, though, for Arizona was Kansas State punt returner Edwards returned untouched for a touchdown. And on the next drive, Fafita lazily threw one, over the middle into double coverage, no big deal. And it was picked by Kansas State's Keenan Garber in the end zone, man. Ouch. That always hurts.
Yeah, that was, that game was exciting to watch for the first quarter. And then, like I said, it got out of hand. But you know what, B? Time to pay some bills, man.
Hold on. I came away with just watching Avery Johnson and how dynamic he was with the ball in his hands. He's a serviceable thrower, but he's the best athlete on the field. This team will compete. The defense looked nasty, too. Watch them. I mean, they're definitely up there. Separated themselves for the Big 12 winners there. I mean, they're probably going to be the champs. It's going to be between them and Utah, obviously. But Avery Johnson's the real deal. Keep an eye out for him.
Don't forget about Oklahoma State or Iowa State, man. The Big 12 is about to get super interesting. It might be the most interesting conference to watch down the stretch, man.
They're starting to separate themselves a little bit now. I
think Utah has kind of struggled, but Kansas losing to UNLV. Yeah, man, Jalen Daniels has turned into a turnover machine. But yeah, man, the Big 12 is going to be super fun to watch here in the coming weeks, man. Let's play the Bills.
Pay them Bills.
Let's get a little spicy in here.
Yum, yum, get your some. Yum, yum, get your some. Yum, yum, get your some. Yum, yum, get your some.
Gano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa.
Joe,
hey.
We all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better. Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
Let's get big, backers. Boy, it's time for that big on big action. And man, oh man, Indiana dominates the Bruins in LA. In case you didn't know, that's where UCLA is. They're in LA. But anyway, sure? Indiana dominates it 42-13. I'm pretty sure. I had some pretty good directions from Deshaun Foster.
Is that where the Rose Bowl is? Pasadena, huh? How about that? Hoosiers Curtis Rourke, man. Transfer from Ohio University, that is. Had himself a day going 25 of 33 for 307 yards. Count them. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 touchdowns, baby. And they welcome UCLA to the big in a big way.
I know we will get a lot of attention, said Coach Curt Cignetti, who became the first Hoosier coach to begin his tenure with 3 straight wins, man. First time since Bill Lynch in 2007.
I got to tell you a stat about Curt. Man. I got to tell you a stat about Curt Cignetti. He is 121-35 with 0 losing records in a season. Man, he is the real deal. The last time Indiana was in a Rose Bowl game was 1968 when number 3 Indiana lost 14-3 to number 1 USC. Man, they made it back to the Rose Bowl.
Man, 20-point victory, the largest in the Big Ten for the Hoosiers since Northwestern in 2019 when they beat Northwestern 34-3. This was the worst USC loss in a home opener since they got shut out against Stanford in 2010. This game was a beatdown, man. But tell me more about Rourke.
Yeah, not only did he complete 25 of 33 passes, but he was 9 of 9 for 128 yards on third down alone. 9 for 9, 128 yards. That's how you win a game, man. It's the 10th 300-yard game of his career. The previous 9, of course, coming from the Ohio University Bobcats, where he was Mid-American Conference. That's the MAC Conference. Offensive Player of the Year in 2022.
You definitely had a ball game, man. The Bruins.
What did they do?
Oh, man, the Bruins, they didn't do a whole lot, so not much to talk about. But the Bruins' only touchdown came in the second quarter when T.J. Hayden, 1-yard run with 42 seconds remaining, got it to 21-7 at the half. But things are not going to get any easier for these Bruins. They're going to be some bruised Bruins, man. They got LSU, Oregon, and Penn State in the next 3 weeks, man. If you're a Bruins fan, better buckle up that seatbelt, man, because if Indiana did you like that, oof.
You just wait till we see what LSU does, what Penn State does, what Oregon now with an offensive line is going to do. Woo, buddy. It's going to be rough.
Speaking about Oregon, man, let's get into that little Big Ten roundup, man. Oregon beats up the Beavers. Smack the Beavers around. The Cox got beat. All the things are getting beat. And the Civil War, though, their first dominant performance of the year, the Ducks take down the Beavers 49-14. Beef, tell me about this game.
Oh, man, I guess you're going to have to take over from here. I got a little bit of technical difficulties. I'll be right back.
All right. It was the 128th meeting in the rivalry between these two teams, formerly known as a Civil War. This rivalry was normally held over Thanksgiving weekend. It had never been played in September before, and it happened, man. Thanks to these Big Ten expansion. Oregon, ranked number 3 in the preseason AP Top 25, had struggled mightily in their first 2 games over Idaho and Boise State to start the season. And then Dan Lanning, he said, man, I felt like we finally played to our standard. Oregon, looks like Oregon finally, man. Dan Lanning was feeling it. How about that, man? How about them Ducks? Oregon leads this series 69-49-10 overall. But Oregon State had won the last 2 in Reser Stadium. But that would change today, man. And then Dylan Gabriel, as always, all about the efficiency. All right, man. Tell me about
back again.
Tell me about Dylan Gabriel, man. I was about to break down Dylan Gabriel for him.
Dylan Gabriel was all about efficiency today, man, going 20 of 24 for 291 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also added 64 yards on the ground. Boy, was he ready. He was ready for this game. And I'm out of breath running around looking for a charger. I feel I just ran 64 yards.
The wide receiver, Tez Johnson, man, he was a number 1 target for Dylan Gabriel. 7 receptions, 110 yards, 15.7 per catch, man. Tez Johnson's out there doing things, but the most important thing about this game was the running back, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the running game period. Running back Jordan James, 12 carries, 86 yards, and 2 tutties. It didn't stop there, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon total 240 as a team at 7.5 per carry. It seemed to be this was the Achilles heel of this offense coming into this game. But, man,
absolutely,
they finally got it going on the ground, and they played big on the ground, man.
And that's a takeaway from this game. The offensive line looked the part. They started playing like they could, and, man, they put it together. They got all that media attention for, hey, what's going on? Why are they getting these close games? And they finally break it open, opening holes for the running back, keeping Gabriel off the dirt for the most part. The big part of it, question mark maybe for this game, was the defense looked a little bit questionable. Like the touchdown right before the half, it was in the right spot. They just didn't finish it. And like you said, Gabriel, he ran that touchdown. It was an option play, and that was like close to 70 yards, I believe, too. And that Tez Johnson touchdown you talked about put the nail in the coffin, man. That was spectacular. It was physical. He's 161 pounds, and he just basically pushed the defender out of the way going to get that ball, man. That 50-50 ball, he got it, and boom.
Yeah, Oregon's finally looking like Oregon, man. I'm glad to see it. Happy to see it, man. They had me a little worried, but
yeah, I was like, are they going to be the surprise top 10 team that falls? But they need to move back up there, man. They finally showed they got it.
All right, let's talk about Iowa, man. They had to have a comeback victory against Troy, man. I guess Iowa's going to Iowa, but they did score 28 in the second half to win this one, 38-21. Hawkeye running back Caleb Johnson rushed for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns, man. Iowa rallied, like I said, in the second half to get that 38-21 win over Troy. It was a third consecutive 100-yard rushing game to start the season for Johnson, who came into this game third nationally with 153 yards per game, boy, and he ain't slowing down.
Yeah, he needs himself a Big Johnson shirt.
He
needs
does.
a Big
Tell
Johnson t-shirt. He has 479 yards on the season on 61 carries. They already matched his single season high with 6 touchdowns. All right, man.
Yeah,
Big Johnson, get him a t-shirt. Come on.
Wide receiver Ross, man, he had a day too. Gave the Troy a 14-10 lead at the halftime with a 63-yard touchdown reception from quarterback Matthew Caldwell early in the second quarter, along with a 77-yard punt return for a touchdown with 1 minute left in the half, man. Ross caught another 60-yard touchdown from Tucker Kilcrease, who had to come in after Caldwell was injured, but Ross finished with 219 all-purpose yards, man. He was everything for Troy, man, everything.
Ross balled out, going to be an all Sun Belt type player, man.
Yeah, he was balling, man.
McNamara was 19 of 23 for 179 yards passing. Very pedestrian stats, but he had 9 consecutive completions at one stretch during the game, which is awesome. I just want to know what happened to Phil Parker's defense. They gave up 21 to Troy, albeit one of them was on a punt return for a touchdown, but the other 2 were over 60-yard pass plays, man.
Yeah, they got a big play problem. They gave up a couple big plays.
That dude Ross, man.
Even when they played Iowa State, they're starting to give up a big play defense. But man, you got to talk about that Iowa offense, though. Iowa, 460 yards of total offense. Is this even Iowa, man? I know 284 of that was rushing yards. That's definitely Iowa, but 462 total yards of what's happening?
Are you counting punting yards?
I'm not for the first time. Usually I have to add those in there. But man, this game changed. Troy was playing without their injured quarterback, Goose Crowder. Caldwell started the game, completing 14 of 21 passes for 156, while Kilcrease, when he came in, he was 2 of 5 for 73 yards. I wonder what this game would have looked like with their main man Crowder.
So what do you think about Iowa for the Big Ten? I mean, are they just a questionable team at this point? They're not a leader in the Big Ten by any means, are they?
I still think it's Big Ten plays yet to happen for them. So it's going to see. I think the jury's out, but I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to keep up with the likes of Oregon. I mean, the way they're giving up big plays, I think USC can take a couple of bites at them. I don't know, man. I think they're going to be a little lower on the level than I thought they were. I had them predicted to have a 10-win season, but I think
one of the reasons is because of the relatively easy schedule, but with Nebraska stepping it up, their schedule gets a little bit harder. Did they play SC? I'm trying to remember.
Honestly, I'm trying to remember myself, man.
Hey, fill us in if you're watching. Do they play SC? We got the schedule up somewhere.
No.
I mean, so they have a pretty easy schedule. Let's see. Wow. Nebraska's and Ohio State. I mean,
that's about it. Wisconsin's. I mean, they're struggling really bad. We'll get into that later. Yeah, they can still make some noise in the Big Ten, man.
There's still a chance.
Yeah, they're still not a bad team. The offense is starting to click. Their defense is just giving up big plays, which is not something you normally see out of Iowa. So
Phil
But I'm
Parker
sure
is
Phil
not
Parker
a big
can run
play
that down.
giver-upper, if you will.
He's not a big play kind of guy.
All
Let's talk about Maryland though, man. Maryland dominates Virginia in the second half with that comeback win, winning this one 28-13. Boy, you got to tell me about that Maryland wide receiver because he might be one of the best in the league, if not the nation, man.
Mr. Felton was on fire, dude. He continues his dominant play with 9 receptions for 117 yards and a touchdown. And his quarterback, Billy Edwards, the junior, he threw a touchdown and ran for another to help Maryland beat Virginia 27-13. Felton entered this game as the leading receiver in the FBS, and he'll be back at it and near the top and off the charts maybe even today when we do the final stats to see where they're at. I know Williams is up there, at least for touchdowns for Alabama, so we'll have to take a look at that and see who's leading in receptions.
Yeah, but the Cavaliers dominated the early portion of the game, but squandered their advantage by turning the ball over 4 times. Maryland grabbed 4 turnovers in this game.
That's the difference maker there, the great equalizer. Turnovers and a running quarterback, and they got both.
Yeah, after the Cavaliers went 3 and out on the opening possession of the second half, Edwards hit Caden Prather in the corner of the end zone for a 26-yard touchdown, made this one 14-3, and I tell you what, Maryland did not look back after that, man. Tell me about Edwards.
Billy Edwards Jr., he finished 28 of 43, so a lot of passing attempts for 263 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, he also ran for another. By the fourth quarter, Maryland had used a significant time of possession edge and started imposing their will on Virginia, scoring 21 unanswered points in the second half, man. I thought, seeing Maryland down, I was like, oh, this is the typical Maryland. They're just going to squander it. They're going to get finished. And they didn't get finished off. In fact, they turned it around, flipped her over, and finished her themselves.
They did. We'll see what happens because every time they start getting a Big Ten play, they fall apart like they did their last game. But
they already did, yeah.
Yeah, they already did, like their last game. Well, let's talk about Illinois, man. And
we got to talk about Illinois.
Man, they take down Central Michigan 30-9. Man, tell me about Luke because Luke has been he's been kind of a surprise this year.
The Altmaier threw for 242 yards and 2 touchdowns, both to wide receiver Pat Bryant. Man, the Illini are looking good. 3 straight to start the season for the first time since 2011. What else did they do, man?
Mm-hmm. Man, Josh McCray ran for 54 yards on 8 carries, but, he shares the load. You had Valentine had another 53 yards on 5 rushes, man. They're kind of a all-around square offense, man.
Oh, yeah, that's a little double penetration right there.
It is. They got the throwing game going, got the running game going, but tell me about that kicker because I already set some records.
Ethan Molzewski kicked a school record 59-yard field goal as time expired in the first half, and the crowd went wild, baby.
Man, 59. Woo-hoo. That's a kick,
59
son.
yards. He booted that. Put a hole in that ball.
Let's talk about that Illini defense because I'm saying this team is looking well-rounded, man. The Illini defense grabbed another turnover, putting that ball-hawking defense on 8 turnovers already on the season, man.
Woo, buddy, you got to pull up that schedule.
Almost had a fumble.
I got to go into a rant, man. I don't care who you are. This is a good-ass team. Place this team in the SEC, and they're going to be ranked in the top 15. They beat a Kansas team, and they're 3-0. Kansas was ranked 19 at the time, I believe, and maybe they'll get to 24 after this week. But that's the bias. I mean, if they lose to Nebraska next week or the next 2 weeks, then they're going to be unranked again. Dude, recruits see this. This is why there's a difference in recruiting in the Big Ten versus the SEC, let alone the location. The SEC has more recruits. I get that. But this is why Auburn can be dog shit and still have their recipe to recruit well. Don't tell me if Mississippi State had this resume that Illinois has that they wouldn't be ranked. In fact, Mississippi State would probably be ranked in the top 10. If they had Illinois' resume, they would. That's just my opinion. This is a good team, and Fox needs to start picking shit up, man.
I hear you, ESPN, but the problem is that Kansas win is not looking as good because they went out and fucking choked against UNLV.
Yeah,
so
but they don't do that. I mean, everyone
It doesn't
gets
matter.
credit.
Look, it doesn't matter. They got Nebraska and Penn State the next 2 weeks. If they can win one of those two games,
But that's the bullshit. That's the bullshit. That's where everyone looks good when they beat a ranked team, you know? And then they stay ranked. You know, if you're ranked 15 and you lose, you drop down in the 20s. And then another team gets a chance to beat another ranked team. And they keep those rankings, which is the other bullshit thing. Like, if you beat a team that was ranked when you beat them and they're not ranked anymore, you don't get credit for that.
agreed.
Especially in the beginning of the season. But hey, that's not the way it works, and I'm not the rule maker. I don't get to establish media biases, but someday I will.
All right, let's get into these big losses, man, because a couple of Big Ten teams got their asses handed to them, and unfortunately, my Badgers were one of them. Man, we kind of seen this coming, but it also didn't start off well. But man, yeah, Bama destroys the Badgers in Camp Randall, 42-10. Man, Milroe, he was on fire, threw 3 touchdowns, ran for 2 more. As Alabama made a rare road trip up north, and boy, did they beat this snot out of my Badgers, man. Tell me more about Milroe.
Milroe just acted like Wisconsin wasn't there. He's like, you know what? This is my show. I own Camp Randall. He went 12 of 17 for 196 yards with touchdowns, both through the air and rushing. He had 3 touchdowns passing, touchdown of 31 yards to Ryan Williams, 26 yards to Jeremy Bernard, and 37 yards to Josh Cuevas. Man, he also rushed for 75 yards on 14 carries, scoring on runs of 3 and 10 yards. Milroe, I can't talk, accounted for 14 total touchdowns this season, 8 passing, 6 rushing through Alabama's first 3 games. Dude's on fire.
Yeah, he's
Heisman
on fire,
candidate.
man.
Chalk it up.
Then,
September Heisman right there.
Then I guess we'll talk about the Badger quarterback because he made 1 appearance, and unfortunately he went down.
Ouch.
Quarterback Tyler Van Dyke went down with a non-contact leg injury. He's most likely done for the year. And the Badgers, they're going to be hurt, man, because when that backup came back, he did not look ready at all in this game. He was kind of hurrying every throw. Man, any hopes?
I said this prior to in the preview of the game. I said Dyke and Ches Malusi needed to ball out, needed to be out of this world. And unfortunately for Dyke, he was out, but not of this world. Sorry, man. Those injuries are piling up. The injury bug hit Wisconsin last year. Looks like it's hitting them again.
Last year they lost 2 running backs and a quarterback, and it looks like we're on the injury train again, man.
Dude, that sucks, man. I said in the preview that this would be over by halftime. I mean, I don't think that that's any outstanding analysis. It's just Bama and playing in a big game. And they dominated. They were the Bama of old. This is still Saban's Bama.
Yeah. Any Wisconsin hopes of making this game had disappeared at the final minute of the first half. Wisconsin was trailing 14-3. When Lockley barely overthrew a diving Will Pauling, in the end zone. And then they had to settle for a field goal, and Vaccos, man, missed the
field goal kicker emerges
college football kicker situation, man. And it was over from there. If they could have got that field goal or even a touchdown there, obviously they could have tried to make this a game, but it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, for the Badgers, they lost their chance of winning. You can't make turnovers against teams that are superior. I mean, even when talent's equated, you can't have turnovers. They lost 2 fumbles deep in their own territory, and those 2 fumbles resulted in Alabama touchdowns. Following an unsuccessful 4th and 1 try, and another missed field goal attempt by Wisconsin. You got to get those points, man. Got to put points on the board. Can't get field goals. Can't have turnovers against good teams. And they did it all.
Yeah, the fumbles were insane to me. And then also couldn't make a field goal. Then trying to go for it on 4th and 1 obviously didn't work out. But at that point, he had Luke Fickell had to go for 4th and 1. But yeah, Wisconsin suffered its most lopsided home loss, 48-7. Their last. Let me say that over again. Lord, Wisconsin covered its most lopsided home loss since it lost 48-7 against Penn State in 2008. So the Badgers, I mean, worst ass whooping at home since 2008, man. And now the Badgers need to learn more about what their quarterback situation looks like moving forward, man.
It doesn't help the jump around any when you're losing that big.
No, man.
That's one of the best sights to see ever.
It's fun. It's awesome because the fans hung around for jump around, and of course Alabama got into it, and it was still a good sight. But after jump around, the Badgers were Badger fans are out, man. They're out that game, out that stadium. It's over.
And
They just
speaking of
can't.
jumping around, I think the Irish were doing the same thing.
Yeah, let's talk about that other ass whooping. And this one was an epic proportion, man. Notre Dame hands Purdue an ass kicking for the ages, man. Irish 66, Purdue 7, man. Oh, number 18, Notre Dame pounds Purdue. And the most lopsided loss in Boilermakers' 137-year history. This game was that bad, Beef.
Notre Dame collected 278 of its 362 yards rushing in the first 2 quarters, dude. Led by Lincoln Riley and running back Love. Showed them love, man.
You mean Riley
finished with
Leonard? You mean Riley
Riley
Leonard?
and running back Love. Yeah. I mean, together they were running all over the place.
Yeah,
Leonard
Purdue
and
finished
Love.
with 162 total yards of offense in this game, man. I mean, they didn't even total what they did on the ground in the first half. Hudson Card, 11 of 24, 124 yards and 1 TD. This game was ugly, man. Ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Purdue gave up 21 points in the final 2 minutes of the first half. 21 points they gave up in 2 minutes.
Oh, Purdue not only would give up the 162 yards, well, the defense gave up 578 total yards. Sorry, Purdue only put up the 162 yards. Well, their defense gave up that 578 total yards, man. Wow. What's Ryan Walters to do? Is he embarrassed?
He's got to
be
be
embarrassed.
You talk about he's the head coach that gave them the worst ass kicking in their entire history. Their entire history.
Man, Hudson Card and those Boilermakers, they got all of Marcus Freeman last night.
That was... Ooh, I tell you what, man, Notre Dame was frustrated after that loss last week, and they took it all out on Purdue, man.
They needed to. I mean, they need to win the rest of their games like this, or they're not making the playoffs. So better keep it up.
Oof, man. But let's get into
Illinois.
Let's get into those big Bielema cupcake quickies, man. These Big Ten teams won their games, took care of business, and got on top of their opponents fast. Now let's start off with get your Rhule Aide, baby. Nebraska takes down Northern Iowa 34-3. Huskers quarterback Dylan Raiola, the freshman, passed for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception, but man, number 23 Nebraska continued its best start since 2016. Man, and they came away with points in their first 5 of 6 possessions. This offense is rolling, Beef.
Raiola, 209 yards in the first half, completed 13 of his first 14 passes, including 11 in a row. 11 in a row for a freshman, dude. This dude's sensational. Kind of a highlight reel, Rhule said after the Raiola to Lloyd play. Raiola rolled right, sidestepped. There was a pass rusher coming at him. He got out of the way and found a wide open Jalen Lloyd on the left side of the field for 59 yards. And Ja'Cory Barney, the third also ran for 10 yards on a reverse for a touchdown on the very next play, man. It was like a highlight reel for the ages. Of course, it's a cupcake team, so it doesn't really mean
it is
that.
now. It is a cupcake team. They were the 21 ranked FCS team coming into this game. Ty Edwards, the Panthers, 6'4", 230-pound running back, was averaging an FCS best 157.5 yards per carry. But guess what, man? That Nebraska defense held him to just 37 yards.
A total of just 20 points for the first 3 games for this Huskers defense. The Black Shirts are back, and they are ready. They've held their first 3 opponents to 10 points or fewer for the first time since 2005, dude. They're back.
Yeah,
they're on a mission.
They're on a mission, man. That defense was awesome last year. That defense is awesome this year. And now they actually have an offense and the quarterback to go with it, man.
10 points or fewer. Man, first 3 opponents, 10 points or fewer. That's a fucking defense, man. That's a top-level defense. We'll see once the competition starts to heat up a little bit more. We're giving them a lot of credit for Colorado. doesn't look like Colorado's really that great of a team. They got a lot of pieces missing. So once Big Ten play starts, we're going to know a little bit more about these Huskers. But, man, they're halfway to bowling right now.
We'll find out about Illinois or Nebraska next week, man. I'm excited for that game.
For sure. That's going to be awesome.
All right, let's talk about your favorite, the Michigan Wolverines. They dominate Arkansas State despite the 10-point win. At the scoreboard, you're like, oh, they only won by 10, but they were in complete domination of this game. It was, 28-3 at one point in this game?
21-3.
21-3, that's right.
At least at halftime it was. I can't remember when they scored that last touchdown.
But there was some dramatics in this game, man. We got to talk about the quarterback situation. Warren threw 3 interceptions and got benched. He was 11 of 14, 122 yards. And they had enough, man. They benched him. Michigan fans are hoping that Tuttle is the answer and he comes back healthy next week. Now, they win this game, but they still have some major issues. But that running game, Beef, that's no joke. Tell me about that running game.
Oh, the running game. Michigan was a double-headed sword here, but Warren was in the the Don had 17 carries for 82 yards. He wasn't the main dude, man. His protege Mullings over there, he really balled out. He was the number one running back for the Wolverines, and it seems like he's the number one running back pretty much every game. 15 carries, 153 yards, and met the end zone twice. The Don's not showing up like last year. He's absent for games. He's only going to show up for Ohio State. Watch, he's going to go off against Ohio State. And Mullings, he had an outstanding 10.2 yards per carry. 10.2. That's awesome. I don't care who you're playing.
Yeah, that's a damn good day, Tim. If you every time you run the ball, you get a first down. That's a good damn day, man.
Total rushing, they were rushed for 301 yards and 6.8 per pop. That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, that's what I said. By the score, it doesn't look that dominant, but they actually dominated this game. We did get an orgy in the end zone just for you, B. We got the orgy in the end zone.
There we go.
He came in to replace the bench Warren, only throwing the ball 4 times. He was 2 of 4, but he did pass for a TD, so there's some good news there. But, man, bad news for Michigan.
Loveland, man. Damn. That's tough to see. When he goes out of the game, that's their dude. The only consistency in their passing threat.
And when he came back on the field, he was no pads, man. He was completely in sweats. He is their only,
maybe that's the game.
Vertical.
Maybe that's the game, you know. I mean, it's a cupcake, so we call it cupcake for a reason. So Arkansas State, they kind of were dominating the game. Maybe they were like, hey, let's protect them, but it doesn't look good when you're coming back out on the field without pads on.
Yeah, if they lose him in the passing game, like he's been their only true threat in the passing game. If they lose him, man, that passing game is really going to suffer. Unless Tuttle is something that I don't think anybody – I mean, people are kind of excited about Tuttle coming back, but I still don't think he's going to be a world beater.
When's he supposed to be coming back?
Hopefully, I think next week is what the fans are saying. He was dressed for the game, and he was a game-time decision, but he didn't play.
Mm-hmm. All right, so probably next week. And so far this season, though, it was kind of a close game with Arkansas State. Again, like they scored some points in the last few minutes, but they were destroyed by Texas. And a close game with Fresno State. They don't really have a quarterback. They don't really have an identity against big teams because they're not able to pound the ball with that young offensive line. I see.
And the defense has been a bit suspect to where I think everybody predicted them to be.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, they didn't show anything against Texas. Texas is a great team, obviously. They have depth everywhere, including quarterback. But I see them losing against some questionable teams this year. So far, how they played. I mean, obviously they can pour it all together and kind of gel and learn as a unit on that offensive line and then get things going. But as of right now, I see them losing to some of the, what we would call mid-level teams in the Big Ten.
They just got to get a decent passer because that run game is real. That defense is probably going to figure it out. But, man, they just need something. They just can't be one-dimensional.
They need a spark.
They do. Let's talk about their quote-unquote little brother. Little brother played, and they played Prairie View.
A&M.
Not even regular Prairie View. They had to play the A&M version. But they win 40-0, as they should.
That's too many damn words for a team. Prairie View, A&M, Directional Southwest.
Yeah, it's you see the you see the the logo up there. Good Lord, man. Ba-ba-moo. Ba-ba-moo.
What the hell's going on, man? What the hell? Takes up the whole damn screen.
But Aiden Childs, man, he ran for a touchdown, threw for another, and Charles Brantley returned an interception for a school record 100-yard touchdown on Saturday. So some positives in this game, but they should be all positives because of who they're playing. But tell me more about this game, Beef.
It's the first time the Spartans 3-0, 1-0 in the Big Ten have opened up the season with 3 straight wins since 2021. Their last shutout was 52-0 over Akron in 2022. That 2021 year was an exceptional year for the Tucker, so look for good old Smith to have a great game. Jonathan Smith, man. He's pulling it together. He was the right hire, I think. Michigan scored on 3 of its first 4 possessions. Childs opened up with a scoring with a 6-yard touchdown run, followed by a 17-yard touchdown pass to Isaiah Johnson.
Yeah, my concern, though, man, is Michigan State and their penalties, man. The penalties continued. They're ranked 129th out of 133 games and teams in the FBS in penalties for 11 penalties per game, man. Another 11 penalties, 88 yards.
Yeah, and that'll get it done.
Killed 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns got called back on those 11 penalties, man.
That'll get it done against teams that have abbreviations PVAMU, teams like that. But it's not going to get it done against the Big Ten, man. You can't have penalties like that. They got to clean that up quick.
Yeah, they do. They definitely got to get that cleaned up real quick because real ball's coming, man. Let's move on to Minnesota. Minnesota, Goose Eggs, Nevada. Gophers running back Darius Taylor ran for 124 yards and 2 scores and caught a touchdown pass as Minnesota took down the Wolfpack, man. Tell me more about this game.
Nevada Wolfpack, 27-0. Gopher DB Kerry Brown had 2 interceptions, and DB Ethan Robinson grabs another. That's 3 picks, man. The Gophers defense has given up 1 touchdown in the last 3 games, man. I told you the Gophers are pretty good, man. They just lost a close one against, a stupid first game of the season. North Carolina, they should have won that game. Anyway, Minnesota shut out opponents, out consecutive opponents for the first time since October of 1962, dude. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, that defense is playing, but yeah, if they didn't have that college kicker situation in North Carolina game, you'd be talking about an undefeated team. But let's talk about Max Brosmer, man. Finished 16 of 26, 191 yards and a touchdown, and averaged 6.66 yards per play. And then they averaged
Can we just round that off to 6.67?
As a team, they almost ran for 7 yards per play. They had a total yardage advantage, 386 to 172 total yards. I mean, it was a beatdown.
Yeah, Brosner does well against FCS level opponents, and I want to see him do this against big time teams. I guess he played. He goes into Big Ten play here pretty soon. He's going to have to start stepping it up. I don't know if it's a speed thing for him or just like the length of people is a little bit different. The defensive linemen are bigger, but Brosner is a good quarterback, and as long as he kind of sets in and learns to play like he does against FCS level opponents in the big time games, he's going to be a good quarterback. I think it's just a time thing.
He didn't even play bad against North Carolina. He just had a costly fumble that kind of put his team in a bad position, but then he put him right back down the field to win it. So even against North Carolina, he played good. He's definitely a decent quarterback. We'll see what happens when he gets in the Big Ten play. We got one more Big Ten game to get through, and Northwestern takes down Eastern Illinois. I think Eastern Illinois is just trying to get paychecks because they played Big Ten teams multiple weeks in a row, just getting beat by every Big Ten team they can and getting that $1 million paycheck. But yeah. Northwestern wins 31-7. Can we get into Big Ten play already? God, man, these last few games have been hard to talk
it's
about.
It's rough just to talk about these games.
Yeah, I'm ready to get into some Big Ten play. But, man, new quarterback Jack Lausch got it rolling after a slow start. He passed for 227 yards, and he got his first 2 touchdowns in his career. So that's some positive news for the quarterback situation there at Northwestern as they pulled away 31-7.
Lausch also rushed for 62 yards in the first half, man. Boom.
Not a bad first outing, man.
Cam Porter rushed for 77 yards and his third touchdown of the season. Jack Olson booted a 46-yard field goal as Northwestern dominated in total yards, 450 to 207.
Man, I'm ready for Big Ten play. Oh, Lord.
And talking about ready for Big Ten play, we got to talk about these three, count 1, 2, 3, surprise teams in the Big Ten. Illinois, Bielema, putting the pieces together, 3-0, man. Indiana, Kurt Cignetti, showing that JMU would do good in the Big Ten at least. And Michigan State, Jonathan Smith, another right man for the job hire. Which of these three teams do you think is able to surprise some people in the Big Ten?
Man, I want to say Illinois just because I like how they're so well-rounded as far as quarterback play, running back play, and defensive play. But I would say it's up between them and Indiana, man.
Give me Indiana all day. Give me the Kurt Cignettis, man. Indiana is on fire right now, and their fan base is on fire. Everyone's happy in Bloomington. He's a winner, man. He's a winner everywhere, and he talks shit constantly. He even said, Google me when he was announced. He was like, I'm a winner. Google me. I don't have to explain anything else. Just get that search engine out and see what I do.
When he said Purdue sucks, I don't think we realized how bad he was, or how
he
well
was telling the truth. Forecasting.
forecasting.
And then he said, but so does Michigan and Ohio State, man. He better bring it. He's collecting those receipts already. Talking shit, but collecting them.
We'll see, man. They still got to get some good games out of their belt, but
dude, he's hardcore, and they're doing. Hey, they did what they needed to do. They went out to the Rose Bowl, won a game, and won it big against better competition. This is not FCS competition anymore. This is bowl championship series, man.
Yeah, I mean they did win a Big Ten game
team.
on the road all the way out in LA, man. Like it's a big win, and they
not only won it, but won it big. At Illinois, they won their game against Kansas. I didn't give them a chance to win that, but 3-0, man. 3-0 Big Ten teams that we had on the tier at the bottom when we whiskey tiered the Big Ten.
Let's look at that Indiana schedule, man. Like let's see it.
Yeah, bring that shit up.
Now we had predicted them to go 4-8, but they're making quick work of that 4-8 already, man.
Yeah, and they already got 3 of them. Hey, 3 more wins, they're going bowling. And do we got 3 more wins on there? What we predicted, a win at Purdue and a win at Charlotte. That's 2 of the 3 right there.
Yeah, 2 of the 3 is Charlotte, Maryland, or Northwestern. Now, maybe
and
Maryland
of those losses,
yeah,
Maryland, Northwestern, they can win both those games.
And
in fact, I think they're going to win at least one of them.
The way Purdue played, I think you can count that one as a win too. So,
and you might be able to count Washington as a win the way they played, because I'm pretty sure Indiana's as good as Washington State.
I could see that.
Washington. They got Washington at home. That's going to be a good game. That's one worth going to on October 26th if you're an Indiana fan.
Yeah, that quarterback they got in from Ohio, man, he is making a massive difference.
Rourke, man.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta love him. At Michigan, the way Michigan's playing and the way Indiana's playing, I could see them giving Michigan a game.
It's funny to me, like, why didn't Michigan go out and try to get a Rourke out of the
Yeah.
field?
I don't know. I think they thought they had their man with Orgy.
I don't even think they had much faith in him. They don't even let him throw the ball when he comes in, man.
Hey, man, if you have an Orgy, are you going to mess with it? You leave that shit in place.
Fair enough, dude. Fair enough. All right, let's get into those Big Ten Backers quickies, and then let's get on out of here, man.
Around the landscape, baby. We talked about Texas. Number 2, Texas, 56 against UTSA. 7 points, man. Backup quarterback had to come in. No one other than a Manning, and he had a touchdown run for like 63 yards, 56 yards, something like that, along with several tosses through the air. Man, that backup quarterback situation's great.
It's looking good, Dan. Texas is looking good. Number 5, Ole Miss, man. They played Wake Forest, put them down 40-6. And a non-dramatic game for Ole Miss, man. They're looking the part.
Quarterback Nico Imaleva, number 7, Tennessee, 71-0 against Kent State. They were winning 30-0 in the first quarter and kicked and recovered an onside kick. What the fuck, dude? Just insult to injury. How depleted you have to be to walk off that field after losing already 30-0 and then losing an onside kick? Be like, yo, dude, these guys are fucking out for blood.
Man, poor little Kent State, man. They didn't deserve that, man.
Can't read, can't write, Kent State.
And then, not to be outdone.
Can't play football.
They were outdone, but then, of course, number 10 Miami played another MAC school, and they put a whooping on a MAC school 62-0 when Miami beat Ball State.
Hey, man, I'm going to throw a curveball since we're talking about MAC schools. Toledo, 41 over
had that on there,
SEC's Mississippi State 17. I just jumped to the bottom for you.
41-17, though. Like, we're going to beat them up.
Shit.
But we're going to save that one for last because we want to give Max some love. But damn, dude.
I just gave I had to give him some love now. The Rockets just shot it right to Mississippi State, man.
Yeah, that was an ass whooping Toledo gave Mississippi State. Let's talk about Utah. Number 12, Utah. Man, 38. They struggled again, man. 38-21 versus Utah. They seem like they closed this one out, but they kind of let their last couple games, man, they kind of been underperforming a little bit. So a little worried about Utah, but man, tell me about Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, man, pounded it. Number 13, Oklahoma State, 45 to Tulsa's 10. Oklahoma State is looking like a good team. We talked about it a little bit earlier. That Big 12 is starting to shape up. I got Oklahoma State as my winner in the preseason, so we'll see what happens.
And we had a couple of non-Power 5 schools who are hopeful to make the playoffs. And I think Tulane probably just got eliminated probably from making the playoffs. But they put up an effort trying to put down Oklahoma. Oklahoma got on them quick. But Tulane did surge, but then it fell apart in the end, man. Oklahoma won 44-19.
I had Tulane covering the point spread, and all of a sudden Oklahoma comes out of nowhere and just starts playing ball. And I'm like, damn it, I'm watching the end of it. I'm like, yes, no. They kept sacking Tulane's quarterback, and damn it, they kept getting those points. They scored a touchdown late, and I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
And then Memphis, man, which was my non-Power 5 team I picked to win the playoffs. They beat Florida State, but who hasn't these days? 20-12.
Yeah, does that count for them? I mean, they scheduled them, they played them, they beat them, but does it mean anything anymore? I don't know. 0-3. We'll see if Florida State can pull off some wins and help Memphis kind of get credit for beating a good team. And, oh, man.
We should have broke this one down because it was a good game.
Yeah, we should have talked about it a little bit more. Pitt versus West Virginia, 38. Pittsburgh wins the rivalry game, 38-34. Great game, man. It's making Penn State's win against West Virginia not look quite as good, though. West Virginia's defense is terrible.
Yeah, their defense is bad, but this game was back and forth, man. It was a super entertaining game to watch. I enjoyed watching that one. But Colorado played Colorado State. Colorado bounced back after that embarrassing outing in Nebraska, and they won 28-9.
Yeah, this might be one of the few wins that Colorado gets because Colorado State is a terrible team this year, and Colorado struggled with them a little bit. So I don't see Colorado winning too many more games this year. Texas A&M, moving right along. Texas A&M blasted Florida 33-20. Guess it's not really a blasting, but still, Florida is struggling at 1-2. So you got 1-2 Florida. 0-3 Florida State. What is going on in the state of Florida? And then Miami's like, yo, bring it all on me.
And poor Florida, man. They have the toughest schedule I think maybe it's ever existed in college football this year, and they are not off to a good start to go along with it. It's about to get ugly.
It's going to get ugly in Gainesville. I don't think there's going to be people in the stands for the rest of the season.
I don't even know if he survives the rest of the season, man. He might get fired mid-season.
Who do they pull? Are they getting Dion? Going to make another terrible hire?
That'd be kind of interesting recruiting-wise.
Yeah. It would be awesome recruiting-wise.
I still think it would be a bad hire, though.
Maybe.
Who knows, man? Who knows? But, yeah, they're definitely not a good outlook for Florida. Man.
Do you think Dion's going to start recruiting after this year? Like going actually on recruiting visits?
You might want to.
Or is he done? Is he done in Colorado?
I still think he's obviously got Colorado recruiting better than they did, so apparently he doesn't have to go recruit there, but maybe he should spend a little bit more time coaching if he's not going to do that, because there's still some issues that he hasn't even coached out.
Have you looked at the schedule for next week? I haven't even looked it up.
No,
I don't think there's any real big games next week.
Michigan and USC is going to be the big one.
Michigan and USC. Anything other than that? I haven't.
Not off the top of my head, man.
I'm gonna look it up right now. See what we got. Week 3. I guess week 3 is over. Shouldn't even have said that out loud. Here we go. We got the Illinois-Nebraska game that we talked about, so that's gonna be kind of good. And then I don't really see a whole lot on the docket other than that. You talked about Michigan, USC. Louisville, Georgia Tech might be a kind of a under the radar game, because I think Louisville's a little underrated at 19, but we'll see. And then LSU is gonna blast UCLA. Utah, Oklahoma State. That's a big game.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a big one.
4:00, big game.
That's a big one.
Let's see, what else do we got? Boston College and Michigan State. We're gonna find out for sure what Michigan State's all about. And I believe that's it. Kansas State, BYU, maybe. We'll see. Other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot on the docket.
No, hopefully we'll be in October football here soon. But yeah,
we're gonna start getting some good games. At least there's conference play starting next week. A lot more conference games, so it won't be like all these FCS teams that we get to watch, the blowouts. We won't have as many quickies, hopefully.
It's been a
I love the quickies.
Slow preseason.
Yeah, it has. But I mean, we've had a couple of upsets already. It's been good. I mean, as long as there's those upsets, I'm fine with it. If you're going to play shitty teams and there's a few upsets here and there, it makes things a little bit more interesting. What do you think about Northern Illinois? Do you think they should be up there for making the playoffs at this point?
I think they should be. Obviously, if it's going to depend on what Notre Dame does, but they should be the number one team. Like the number one non-Power 5 school right now should be them, and then Memphis to me.
Memphis second? What about Boise State? I mean, they played probably the best team, the closest. I know they lost.
Still can't compare to what Northern Illinois. Still can't compare what Northern Illinois did.
Yeah, you're sure. I think they're right behind them. I think they're above Memphis. I got Boise State above Memphis, just barely. Because
give me Memphis, but I can see your point. I can see your point. They could go either way.
Yeah, you got to give Memphis credit for doing what they can't affect what Florida State does.
Yeah, they put them on the schedule hoping they were a good team, but it didn't happen.
Start paying attention to those group of 5, which may be soon to be group of 6 schools, because they're going to make the playoffs. One of them is going to be in there, probably at number 12. The playoffs, everyone needs to know this, because not everyone does, including myself. Sometimes I overlook the fact that it's the top 5 conferences that make it. The top 4 ranked conference champions get that 1 through 4 spot and get an automatic bye in the college football playoffs. The last one gets in somewhere else, anywhere else. They can rank them however they deserve to be ranked.
But that 5th spot will be a conference winner from the non-Power 5, depending
most
on
likely
who it is.
I mean, if for some reason Memphis goes undefeated the rest of the way and jumps up into the top 10,
like if they're rated above the Big 12 champion per se, or the ACC
or the ACC champion. Say Miami loses a couple games, drops a little bit, and someone else wins the ACC, then the ACC school may be ranked 19, and possibly Memphis is rated 18, so they'd be in one of the top 4 spots.
Yep, which would be wild to see.
That would be awesome to see. I mean, Cincinnati made it in the top 4, so it's possible.
It is. All right, Beef, get us on out of here, man.
Thank you all, Big Ten backers. Thanks for joining us. Follow us, like, share, subscribe to everything we do. We are on YouTube. We are somewhat on Rumble. We are on Facebook. We are on Apple Music. We are on Spotify. We are on X. Anywhere you can get it, we're on there. We're on Reddit too, by the way. All right. God bless. Take care. Enjoy another week.